Welcome to Should I Read It? Should I Read It is a weekly podcast that takes a deep dive into books. I'll provide a summary of the book and tell you how the ideas in the book relate across all the books we've covered so far. Much like many business owners, I dream. Also, like many business owners, I can dream wildly. You know the dream. There's some market of millions, and if you can serve some tiny fraction of that market, you're just going to be swimming in cash. Of course, in this dream, it is so easy to reach that market. I mean, how hard could it be to convince 1% of people that you're smart or that your product is good? The thing is, we hit reality. Reality is a harsh master. Reality is that maybe 1% of that 1% know about us, and an even smaller fraction of that number cares enough to purchase from us. In his excellent book, The Dip, Seth Godin tells us that for many people, the biggest problem is obscurity. Not enough people know about you. Sure, the market is millions, but if a fraction of a fraction is all that know you exist, you're not going to get anything moving. This is where Traction by Gabriel, I didn't check, Weinberg and Justin Mars is here to help you. Traction is all about giving you a framework to use so that you can get traction with your business. With Traction, you might be able to get at that 1% market you dreamed of. Here's a quote from their book. Traction is the best way to improve your chances of startup success. Traction is a sign that something is working. If you charge for your product, it means customers are buying. If your product is free, it's a growing user base. Traction is all about bringing users into the top of your funnel, effectively, then turning them into clients. It's about identifying your one metric that matters, to steal the term from the 10x marketing formula, and then learning which type of marketing are going to contribute best to that single metric. Now let's define a few terms before we really dig into the book. I know that many readers are freelancers or very small businesses, so we'll start with a caveat. Traction is geared towards startups, places that probably have taken funding and can afford some of the methods that they're going to suggest you try in this book. I have a hard time thinking that billboards will be an effective method for a small web business. It's going to get some notice, of course, but you're not looking for brand awareness. You're looking for paying clients, and there is going to be a much more effective method than a billboard. Second, don't fall into the trap that because a Traction channel worked for a similar business, it will work for you. Here's a quote from the book. Just because my last company got traction in this way didn't mean it was right for every company. Each company gets its traction at a specific time in a specific market. If you're early on YouTube, then you may not have had to do some things that you see people doing now to get traction. Don't just copy, test the method in your market. What worked for you at one point in your business may also not continue to work. In fact, as you reach a new level of income, fame, or market recognition, it is unlikely that what got you there will continue to work the way it used to. Don't get stuck in a way that you think always worked. Keep looking at your one metric that matters and evaluating how what you're currently doing contributes to that. Don't stop what's working just because it's old. My friend Jason and I were talking about how he built some of his coaching work on personal talks with people. Then he stopped bringing people in at the same rate. Going back to one-on-one personal conversations started bringing in clients that week. Stick with the single metric that matters. Only look at changing your market efforts if you aren't seeing the same type of traction with current efforts. Finally, if you're building anything, you need to spend time building traction for your idea. You need to spend as much time building momentum behind your idea as you do building the actual idea. Here's how they say it in the book. Traction and product development are of equal importance and should get about half of your attention. This is what we call the 50% rule. Spend 50% of your time on product and 50% on traction. Now, in Perennial Seller, Ryan Holiday talks about how we have a creative fantasy. And here's how Holiday puts it. Deep down, we all harbor a creative fantasy. We do creative work, throw it in the mail. Someone else sends us a contract and doesn't bother us again. No one gets to tell us what to do. Our art remains pure and untouched. The fantasy is what has us spending all of our time on doing work and little, if any, time on building out the market for idea. If you want to build something that wins, then this cannot be you. To get you going and building traction in your business, Weinberg and Mars give us a system to test out what will work for your business. They use the bullseye analogy. Start by testing every single traction method they mention, in addition to any other traction method you can think of. Find the 2 to 3 that move the needle effectively under a single metric, and then double down on testing those channels. Identify the single channel that has the most impact. Then you take the other two and you only put any effort into them if they feed well into the single channel that has the most impact. Do not keep putting effort into ads if they were the third place finisher. Dump all your efforts into the first place finisher. One of the reasons you test every single traction channel is that it's so easy to overlook things that work because others in your field aren't doing it. What often happens is that all your competitors and your own business end up working in the same traction channel and then you flood it. Here's what they say in the book on that. This means that far too many startups focus on the same channels and ignore other promising ways to get traction. In fact, often the most underutilized channels in an industry are the most promising ones. The people that actually are interacting with this channel, they're overwhelmed by your competitors and yourself. They become blind to so much of what's going on. Just because your competitors are doing something doesn't mean it's working, nor does it mean that you can deliver on it to the same level as your competitors. In Captivate, Vanessa Van Edwards reminds us to do the things that we do well. Here's how she says it. When you try to be the same as everyone else, it's boring. When you try to fit into a mold, you become forgettable. When you try to be normal, you just become dull. Just be yourself because no one is like you. If you're a little weird, own it. The right people will like you for it. This same idea applies to your traction channels. If you can't write, don't write. If you can't produce great videos, don't do videos. Find where you can deliver 10x better than your competition and play in that field. Now, traction is broken up into two main parts. Chapters 1 through 5 cover how the bullseye framework should run. It gives you ways to eliminate things that aren't working and does an okay job at helping you decide the single traffic metric that matters for you. If you need to identify that metric better, then you need to look at the 10x marketing formula because it tackled the single metric that matters better. Chapters 6 through 12 give you a brief overview of the different traction channels at your disposal. Now, let's dive into traction channel. They cover a bunch of them, and the content is fairly well differentiated. I think there's a bit of overlap between a few of the channels they provide. Specifically, they talk about social ads, and then they say that a social ad should probably push content to build more relationship before the sale. This is, blog content, other content. That's content marketing, which it gets its whole own chapter later. It felt like they should combine the two based on the approach they took with the book, with one, really feeding into the other. I won't go into detail of every traction channel, but here's a list of what they cover. They cover blogs, they cover traditional PR, they cover unconventional PR, think of the Will It Blend videos, search engine marketing, social and display ads, offline ads, let's say billboards and radio, search engine optimization, content marketing, email marketing, viral marketing, that also felt a lot like unconventional PR, engineering as marketing, this is like CoSchedule's headline analyzer, business development, so joint ventures and the like, sales, they recommend a framework called spin selling, affiliate programs, existing platforms. So this is like Evernote for a long time, released with the best, newest features every time the new version of iOS came out. Trade shows, offline events, conferences, and trade shows, I guess like we just talked about. Speaking engagements, which is kind of like offline events as well, and community building. They do a decent job throughout the book to make sure that you are pointed in the right direction to get started with your efforts in each field. It's not an exhaustive look at every traction channel, but you can get going without much more research and you're going to have something worthwhile out of it. This episode of Should I Read It is brought to you by my latest book, The Art of Focus. If you're tired of running around trying different ideas and getting no traction, if you are tired of having ideas, but you never actually get to work on them, if you're just tired, then The Art of Focus is for you. It's going to give you the exact systems I've used to build my ideal life, set up my times that I can really work and get lots done in the 6 hours a day that I work most days, and test my ideas in the marketplace so that I know they succeed. You can purchase it on Amazon at curtismchale.ca/recommends/AOF. Now, our final question, as always, should you read Traction? The things I like about Traction is that they don't just stick to online ways to market your business. It encourages you to look at every way you could market your work and then test them. The issue in this is that for some businesses, a bunch of them just don't make any sense. Like billboards, if you're starting a content company, you're not doing brand awareness at the beginning. And I also found that the 10x marketing formula did a better job of helping you define the single metric that matters. Not that Traction was bad, but 10x was better. Finally, there are other books and resources that will do a better job at helping you understand a specific single traction channel. This is not a book that will teach you to write amazing content that converts. You'll need to look elsewhere if you want to learn the detailed ins and outs of each channel. But if you read Traction, you're going to start off with a good foundation. At the end, I recommend Traction as a good book to read if you're trying to get your ideas moving forward, specifically the ideas of the Bullseye framework. Test all the channels, then focus on the ones that make a difference. Don't get hung up on the channel that works. Just keep an eye on your single metric that matters and do the work that has the greatest effect on that metric. Thanks for listening to Should I Read It? To support the show, you can leave me a review in iTunes or a heart or a star in whatever podcast player you use. These help more people find the show. If you want to get more reading done, you should get an Audible membership. If you use curtismchale.ca/recommends/audible, that will help the production of the show financially.